The increasing military activity in the Taiwan Strait, and fears of more tension and competition in the South China Sea, as Beijing continues its relentless building and military operations. Fears have also grown over a possible Chinese invasion of Taiwan, the island democracy that China claims as its territory. In recent years, satellite imagery has shown China's increased efforts to reclaim land in the South China Sea by physically increasing the island's size and creating new ones altogether. In addition to piling sand onto existing reefs, China has constructed ports, military installations, and airstrips, particularly in the Paracel and Spratly Islands, where it has 20 and 7 outposts, respectively. And the increasing tension between mainland China and Taiwan, with Beijing stepping up its efforts to assert its sovereignty over the island, as part of One China policy. But as President Joe Biden has broken away from strategic ambiguity and said that the US would come to the island's defense if China invaded. It means that if a fight breaks out over Taiwan, it is a battle between the world's two most powerful militaries. The sovereignty of the Philippines was the first ASEAN member to be directly affected by China's military expansion in the South China Sea. Under a 2014 defense pact, Marcos recently approved a wider U.S. military presence in the Philippines by allowing rotating batches of U.S. forces to stay in 4 more Philippine military camps. An irreplaceable U.S. ally for 7 decades, the Philippines has long been at the forefront of preserving the free and open regional order in Southeast Asia and the Greater Indo-Pacific region. The Mutual Defense Treaty between the Republic of the Philippines and the United States of America, signed in 1951, serves as a foundation for the close security cooperation between the two countries. Among the 5 treaty allies that the United States has in Asia, the Philippines and Japan are the most geographically close to Taiwan, with the Philippines' northernmost, inhabited island of Itbayat just 93 miles away. Having increased U.S. access in northern Luzon, the closest Philippine island to Taiwan, really ensured that the Philippines and the U.S. alliance are going to have a front and center role in Northeast Asian security and deterrence. The stand, and the position of the Philippines, as an individual nation, is very important, especially in dealing with China. Not just with its sovereign disputes over the South China Sea, but also its stand over One China policy rolling over Taiwan. The Philippines archipelago is also a major part of the first island chain, which refers to the first chain of major Pacific archipelagos out from the East Asian continental mainland coast. Currently, the first island chain is the most effective point to counter any Chinese invasion and expanding influence. The Philippines occupies strategic real estate, vital to U.S. national interests and that of many nations. It's also vital to China, which is aiming to be the center of the universe. It's vital to the economic interests of countries that rely on safe passage through sea lines of communication. Furthermore, it's vital for countries in the Indo-Pacific region to dissuade China from pursuing its hegemonic plans. The Philippines is also strategically important because of what lies beneath the surface of the ocean. The waters just off the west coast of the South China Sea, where China has turned a series of sand mounds into military bases, are flush with undergrowth, making it ideal for stealth submarine movement. The U.S. Marine Corps has proposed shifting towards smaller units in the region that could deploy to remote islands for missile attacks, rear support, counterattacks, or intelligence gathering in the case of a war with China over Taiwan. Along with islands in Japan, the islands of the Philippines represent what American military planners see as one of the most important locations for such tactics. Yet the Philippines faces more challenging choices than most. The outcome of its choices will also matter more to the United States and China. At the most basic level, a Chinese invasion of Taiwan would have serious and specific implications for the Philippines by dint of geography. The Philippines' northernmost islands are 190 kilometers from Taiwan, just slightly further than Japan's nearest island. Despite its strategic goal to remain neutral, the Philippines faces complex realities that make it difficult to continue being a mere observer. For one, its proximity to Taiwan renders the Philippines vulnerable to military attacks from China and Taiwan that may reach its shores. Moreover, the U.S.-Philippines Security Alliance would compel the Philippines to allow the United States access to its airspace and military bases in the event of a cross-strait conflict, making the country a potential launching site for U.S. military action. Because of these possible risks, the Philippines regards the preservation of the status quo as paramount to its national security. It is not in the country's interest for Taiwan to become independent from China, as it could be dragged into a military conflict. Neither is it in the Philippines' interest for Taiwan to reunify with China. Regardless of its position, the Philippines must strengthen its military power to enhance its capacity to defend its territory, and its citizen as the frontline in ASEAN. With the help of its allies, particularly the United States through its Mutual Defense Treaty, the Philippines is on the track in modernizing its military and defense capability, which serves as a foundation for the close security cooperation between the two countries. Faced with the evolving geopolitical realities and increasing political tensions, the Philippines will need to strategically prepare itself as it lives with a looming cross-strait crisis that could escalate into a direct Sino-US conflict in the region. This could expose the Philippines to the consequences of a humanitarian disaster, including refugee outflows. The increase in the Philippines' overall military strength is due to its modernization efforts. The Armed Forces of the Philippines is currently undertaking a modernization program, with countries such as France, Israel, and India offering to give new technology to the country. Its ongoing modernization efforts are allowing the Armed Forces of the Philippines, in fulfilling its mandate of protecting the nation and the people, including safeguarding the country's sovereignty. The Republic Act 10349, also known as the Revised Armed Forces Modernization Act, is the Armed Forces of the Philippines' 15-year modernization program that started in 2012 and will continue through 2027. It was designed to protect defense modernization efforts from shifts in the country's political climate. The third milestone or horizon period from 2023 to 2027 has a projected budget of $4 billion. This program is projected to cost over $40 billion and aims to address long-standing shortfalls in the Philippines' defense capabilities. The U.S. as its closest allies has provided the Philippines with over $463 million in security assistance under its authority, primarily via foreign military financing, international military education and training, and peacekeeping operations funding through the Global Peace Operations Initiative. Meanwhile, the Department of Defense has provided an additional $237 million in security assistance beginning in 2018. In addition to $1.033 billion in active government-to-government sales cases with the Philippines under the Foreign Military Sales System. The Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement (EDCA) supplements the Visiting Forces Agreement (VFA) under the Mutual Defense Treaty, intended to bolster the alliance of the Philippines and the United States of America. It's the most significant defense agreement between the U.S. and the Philippines in decades. Because the U.S. is constitutionally barred from establishing permanent military bases in the Philippines. The EDCA allows the U.S. to rotate its troops in the Philippines and allows build-operate facilities on Philippine bases for both their military forces, while the Philippines will have personnel access to American ships and planes. Basically, with the ongoing changing dynamic in relations between Beijing, Taipei, and Washington, China with its ascending power, could set a precedent to curb foreign support for smaller and weaker states with its anti-access area denial strategy. Changing economic relativities, and China's growing influence through trade and investment will be factored into the region's strategic calculus. The Philippines, by comparison, has large, overlapping sovereignty claims with China but can fall back on its alliance with Washington. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s decision to fully implement and expand the scope of the EDCA is a sharp departure from former President Rodrigo Duterte's swing in favor of China, before belatedly returning as a U.S. ally. Although Mr. Duterte's independent foreign policy, of being a friend to all, has been upheld by Mr. Marcos, his all-out support for the Philippines' U.S. defense alliance serves as leverage against an increasingly warlike China.